What's up, guys? In today's video, we are going to show you how to use a bait casting reel if you're a beginner. Now, getting into using a bait casting reel can be a little bit scary sometimes. You see all those professional overruns or backlashes, and nobody wants to be picking out a backlash when they're trying to catch fish. This video is going to help you understand casting reels a little bit better, and we're also going to show you how to dial it in so you can get started and start casting that lure out there and catching some big bass. All right, guys, now first let's talk about casting reels. The reason that's important is because you need to understand the components of the casting reel before you start casting. So first of all, we have what is called a tension knob. This tension knob purely is designed to put tension on the spool. So if you have a lighter or heavier lure, we're gonna adjust that tension knob to make sure that we can cast that lure the most efficiently as possible. Next, we're going to talk about the braking system. Now, casting reels can have two different braking systems, or they can have both of them. You have what's called a magnetic braking system, and then you also have what's called a centrifugal braking system. Now, these braking systems are both very useful in their own way. Now, first, let's take a closer look at magnetic brakes. Now, with magnetic braking, its job is to slow down the spool at the beginning of your cast. So the two different brakes work two different ways. Your magnets for your magnetic brake are going to be located on the inside of your side plate. Now these magnets, when adjusted, will create a magnetic field between the magnets and the spool, either increasing the speed of the spool or slowing the speed of the spool based on what you dial up. Now let's show you how that works. You can see right here on the side of the Carbon XCS that you can adjust this dial to be less or more. And in adjusting that dial, if you put the number up, you are putting the magnets closer to the spool, so it's more braking. And if it's less, it's further from the spool for less braking. Now, let's talk about centrifugal brakes. Centrifugal brakes are usually located on the outside of your actual spool. And usually they require some kind of a tab adjustment to either move the tabs outward or inward. That allows the small composite pieces inside the spool to reach out and hit what's called a brake drum. And that brake drum is located around the rim of the side plate right here, and it's usually made out of brass. When those are making contact, they slow down your spool at the end of your cast. When selecting a casting reel, it's great to select the right braking system for being a beginner. Now, the great thing about having a dual braking reel with centrifugal and magnetic is that you can start out only using magnetic, and it'll make it easier for you to learn how to cast. Once you've really figured out that casting reel, then you can engage your centrifugal brakes and you can really make your casting reel the best it can be. It's very important to understand what causes professional overruns or backlashes. When you're setting up a casting reel, you want to make sure of a couple of things. So we're going to release that tension knob that we showed you earlier, and we're going to dial that all the way back. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put our brakes about midway. So we've adjusted our magnetic brake to be on 10. Now we're gonna go on the inside of the reel and we're gonna adjust our centrifugal brake. We're just gonna go halfway, so that means our brakes are halfway on. The reason we do this is because it's a good starting point where everything is kind of in the middle, and that will allow us to go and make adjustments from there. Now, anytime that you're going to go cast with a bait, you want to do what I call the drop test. So I'll show you guys here what the drop test is. You're gonna take your bait and you're going to drop it to the ground. Now that bait fell extremely fast. What we want is a very slow, controlled descent if you're a beginning casting reel user. How do we achieve a slower drop? Well, now is where we're gonna need to start dialing in our bait caster. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to that tension knob that we talked about earlier on the side right here, and we're just going to crank that tension knob up just a little bit, maybe a few cranks. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try our drop one more time. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna try that drop again. Still way too fast. So we're gonna make another adjustment, go just a little bit tighter. Okay, now you can see it won't drop at all. That is also not a good thing. So now we're gonna bring it back, make it just a little bit looser. And now you can see we have a nice controlled descent of our bait. A nice smooth fall is exactly what you want when you're a brand new casting user. That slow descent is gonna allow you to not have your line overrun on your casting reel. So make sure when you're dialing it in that you adjust that tension knob to make sure you get that nice smooth fall. Now we're ready to go cast. It's very critical that you make sure that you use your thumb to barely touch the spool. That will keep the spool in control and stop it from backlashing. Okay, we made our first cast, and as you can see, no backlash there. That's exactly what we're looking for. What happens when you have your brakes up a little bit more in that middle setting is it causes you to lose distance on your cast because those brakes are working to slow that spool down. Once you get really comfortable and you're making some casts over and over again, you're having good thumb to spool contact and you're not backlashing, then we can start to bring those brakes down a little bit. So then what we're gonna do is we're at 10, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna reduce that down. We're gonna go to maybe down to like a 4 or a 5. Now we're gonna try another cast and see how it goes. Now I got more distance on that cast than I was on my previous cast because the magnetic brake was not working as strongly against that spool. Now once we're feeling really comfortable, we'll go ahead and we'll open up our reel again. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn 2 of our brakes off on opposite sides of each other right here. The reason you turn off the brakes on the opposite sides of one another is because it allows for even braking on the spool. That was my furthest cast yet, guys, and it's because I was able to reduce that braking. Now, as you become better and better at your casting reel, you're gonna go ahead and reduce that braking down until maybe you don't need any unless it's a crazy windy day. Getting a casting reel and starting out casting can be a little bit intimidating. The big thing is to make sure that you take your time. You don't have to rush. Leave those brakes on for a while, get used to it, go out on the water, go fishing. Really get used to that casting reel, how to use it, and how that braking system works. Don't be ashamed of keeping those brakes on for a little bit longer if you need to. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I can remember back to when I first picked up a casting reel and how intimidating that was for me. I hope this video is gonna allow you to go pick up your new casting reel, learn it, and use it efficiently so you can go out and catch some big fish. If you haven't yet, make sure to go down and click that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell. That way, every time we drop a new video, you guys will be notified. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.